Hey guys, what's up and welcome to the channel. This is Shotgun Shogun and we're actually doing our podcast bi-weekly, and it's actually kind of crazy. I'm actually have Snow and Paychecks back this time because they bailed on me last time, but that's okay because I had Cafe Kaz to replace the both of you because you guys had real life stuff. Who even does that? What's going on?
I don't know, dude, but just thank you, Cafe Kaz. You did a much better job than we do, I think. So, congrats, dude.
Hey, listen, we had to do some board games in real life, all right? We had to do like pandemic because we're going through a real life pandemic.
Not why I was out. Snow ditched you for board games. I actually had something I had to do. So.
That's true. Yeah, Snow, who knew when we were going to record, planned something else. But that aside, let's get into some of the topics of what we're going to go over today. We're going to be talking about MUI. We're going to talk about the end of the RTA season, the potential summer limiteds, and a little bit about some of the Epic 7 podcasts and live streams and stuff like that. They've been kind of switching it up, and it's been kind of interesting. But I think like the first thing, let's talk about the end of RTA season because that's kind of fresh, and then we can go into MUI and the summer stuff. So where did you guys end up at?
I got my skin at Masters and then just sat there. I'm not too interested in RTA. I'm sorry. I did the bare minimum to get the best skin in the game right now.
So, yeah, I was kind of on the fence for most of the RTA season too, but then I realized that I kind of overtrained for it a little bit and my units were actually good. So I did end up climbing in the end, and I ended up in Champion.
Nice. Now, Snow, question for you. You're not too interested in RTA. Would you be more interested in RTA if there were like weekly rewards like Arena?
It would give me a little more incentive to climb, but I'm still not too interested in it.
All right, fair enough. What would make you interested in it?
That's hard to say. I just don't like real-time action like that. So
okay.
People don't like fighting people in PvP. I get that. Like, I've got a few friends that are like that too.
That's fair. Yeah, I feel like if you do like more arena stuff like that, having that prep time, going in and understanding, like, you know, you can take as much time as you want in between turns, things like that. With another person, you don't have that. Although that's actually one of the reasons why I like it more, is because there is that element of it's not an AI and I don't know what they're going to do or who they're going to target and if I'm going to do some inting or not. And so that's a big thing for me. And one of the takeaways from the last season for me was the fact that there's like a different meta at like every level of RTA. And I kind of find that really interesting because it's like you'll see people talking about, you know, different parts of RTA, that whether they're in like gold or masters or challenger or champion, there always seems to be like a different like prevalent meta, right? It does seem like a lot of the lower ranks are kind of dominated by cleave, but once you start hitting higher champ, you get like hard stopped by a bruiser wall, and it's
you just run into more thick teams the higher up you go,
right? And that's also because I think that it's harder to gear a thick team, and the people who have that gear kind of just settle up at the top because and this will go into one of the things that was brought up in the live stream podcast for the E7 was that YD had brought up that defense is just very, very strong because you can only do so much damage at a certain point. You can only get so many damage stats, but like building super tanky and like bringing Arius Adamant and mitigation and stuff like that is a lot easier to a point. That's one of the reasons why like I built Eaton, who is, you know, one of the biggest, well, a literal wall that cleave teams will run into. And it was kind of interesting looking at it because I think I ended up with like 1,600 plus games played. and you run into a lot of different stuff and a lot of different players playing different things, and you'll see like Reddit threads or, you know, people complaining in discords about like a certain team comp, and you're just like, but I don't see that like ever, and they're like, it's everywhere, and you're like, but I don't see it, that's weird. So it's kind of interesting in RTA that there is that like discrepancy, that like kind of difference between the the levels of play.
I think that's something that actually I really learned from RTA myself, is that like before this, I had mostly been specializing characters. Like if I make a DPS, it's like full DPS glass cannon. If I make a tank, it's like full tank. But like after playing RTA and ending in champion and running into some of those, like, you know, just at certain points you get stopped, like you said, Shogun, I've actually even started just tanking up all my DPS. Like my SSB, I cut her damage for more, you know, defense stats and health. Even cut some speed for it. You know, like even my Spec Tenny is like huge amounts of defense now. And like ever since I did that, it's actually made me more successful at the rest of the game too.
Well, one of the things with that is that I've always been in like every game I've ever played, I've always been a big proponent of I can't do any DPS if I'm dead. So even if I have to sacrifice a little bit of my damage to, let's say, go 2 turns instead of 1, or even just get a turn, I think that's a better trade-off. Now, obviously, there's like a threshold where it's like, okay, if you're not doing any damage but you're still alive, you know, that's going to be a little bit of a detriment. But I do think that a lot of people kind of underestimate how much like just adding that extra 100 or 200 defense to your unit, or, you know, that extra 1k hit points or something along those lines, because if your opponent is just glass cannon, you're offsetting that a little bit, and then you're just going to be able to take a turn and either recuperate through a heal or something, some support, or you're just going to be able to kill them. If you can just weather the storm and then just kill them, that's, you know, pretty much how I handle cleave teams, right? So I just take my biggest, chunkiest units and I just slap them in there behind like a FCC or an Eaton, and sure, do they get like, you know, does their Flitica get like 2-3 turns and lap me? Absolutely. But if they can't do any damage, you know, it's only a matter of time before Alencia wipes all of them off the map.
Me too. I actually rather enjoy this style of play now that I've switched over to it. And like to kind of address what YD said in the live stream, it worried me a little bit because he's like, you know, DPS can't break through these tanks. And I'm kind of like, that's sort of the point. Because if the DPS could break through these tanks, then all of a sudden all these other bruiser units are useless. Like you're back to speed cleave.
Yeah.
The guy with the fastest and most glass cannon oxlots wins. You know?
Like that's the weakness of cleave teams. The moment they like dump their load on like onto just that one damage or that one turn, that's it. That's all they have. Like you don't really have a follow up too much.
Yeah, and actually, I have noticed that sometimes when I run into cleave teams, if they, like, let's say, you know, they push whoever forward and they do their cleave and it hardly dents my team, they'll just quit because they know that I'm gonna get to go and I'm going to wipe their entire team.
Shogun, I think this might probably something you can attest to, but this really surprised me about this season in RTA. It's kind of a new meta developed too that wasn't there before, and the new meta that developed was Control, and it's very effective.
Yeah, and that'll actually segue very well into our next topic on Mui. Speaking of Control, I think that, and you know, we were talking about it before the show started, about how good Control is, and especially at like high levels, how good debuff and Control is, and she fits very well into that. And I think that she's gonna see, it's gonna be one of those situations where it's gonna be like an Alencia, right? Because, well, they compare her to Alencia, all the people who don't realize that she doesn't do almost anything like Alencia except for strip buffs. And It's going to take about a month and a half, 2 months until some higher tier people start using her regularly and people start getting absolutely destroyed by her. I mean, even look at just the beginning of the RTA season, or like the very beginning. Alencia wasn't a very common pick. Like, I didn't really see too many Alencias, but like as the season went and people were watching legend tier players, you know, just absolutely one shot and destroy teams with Valencia, strip buffs nonstop, and just be an absolute powerhouse. And all of a sudden everybody's like, yo, Valencia banner when? And I think Mui is going to be a very similar situation, because she is very heavy on control. You have the 80% stun, AoE stun on her S2. You have the strip, 2 buff strip on her S3 plus attack buff, which is going to be, you know, a lot of people are complaining that, well, Basar pushes people back too. And I'm like, well, yeah, but Basar also doesn't give people attack buff or, you know, stun people on his, well, he does stun people on his S2, but that's because he has Abyssal Crown, and Basar has a secret passive that makes Abyssal Crown like a 99.9% proc rate. So he's basically her, I guess. He doesn't put bleeds on, does he? No, he
That
doesn't.
is like saying, though, like, people who go onto that, like, just really irritate me. Like, Basar exists, and so, like, Cerise is real bad. Well, Cerise is one of my best characters, and she's freaking amazing, and people, like, all over the spectrum use her to great effect. So, they do different things.
Yeah.
Different things in Basar, too.
No joke. I actually saw a...
Basar has 100% stun, so,
yeah. I saw a comment today. I forget if it was on Reddit or Stove. I think it was Stove, because this is a really dumb comment. They were complaining about Cerise and how almost all of the limited units are absolute dog turds, because Cerise gives the opponent a buff. And I'm like reading, I'm like, what a buff?
What?
And they're like, yeah, because they can't get pushed back. And I'm like, well, okay, but if you run a team that doesn't have any pushback, then it's not really a buff now, is it? I'm like, not only that, but, you know, Oxlots and Flitica teams and any CDOM kind of requires pushing themselves forward. So that kind of, you know, just is a kick in the nuts when you put that on there. I wouldn't say that anybody who uses Oxlots is like, man, I'm so happy that this Cerise buff is on me. Yeah. No.
He forgets that she inflicts a speed down, but so if you give your team a speed up, like that doesn't really matter. Like that they can't get pushed back now, could they?
Right.
If anyone that says that about Cerise has no idea how Cerise works. Her strength is not in the restrict. Her strength is in the speed down and in the soul burn stun that always hits.
Yes. Dude, and I have soloed Dark Corvuses before with my Cerise, and like I just lap them nonstop, and then you just build so many souls.
Yeah, it's only on 3 turns. Her S1 gives herself combat readiness, so like she's lapping down the ladder so quick. Like that 3 turn doesn't really matter.
Right.
You're just stunning units back and back.
Yeah, no, and then you hit them with a speed down, and you're going even faster, and your S1 gives you combat readiness, the stun gives you combat readiness, and yeah, it's actually, she is legit really good. The problem is I feel like a lot of units that are coming out and have been coming out have a very high gear ceiling. Like take you know,
Rylet.
Yeah, Rylet, for example. He has such a weird gear requirement, but once you hit that really weird high lifesteal gear requirement, he's disgustingly good. He's just absolutely a ridiculously game-breaking unit. And it seems to be that it just takes time for big brain players to figure out how best to use it, while a bunch of people run around being like, nah man, this unit is hot garbage, everything's bait save for straws, save for limited summer titties, save for straws. That's all I ever hear about anything. But talking about Mui, I ran her, I got her. I wasn't actually super gonna pull for her just because the limited banners potentially are on the horizon, but you know, I have a terrible gambling addiction, so I ended up pulling her and then like instantly taking her to max level, and I had a lot of fun with her. I've been using Fire Dingo, or as I like to call him, Fire Charles, Red Charles, a lot, and it actually was a lot of fun because she inflicts bleeds, he makes burns where there's bleeds, he resets cooldowns, her cooldowns aren't really that super long, but I do think that she is going to be very, very strong in control teams that just literally don't let their opponent have a single turn.
Yeah, I too fell for the bait, and actually, like, because I too have a gambling addiction, and actually, like, I went all the way to pity for her, and at that point, I had like invested so much, I'm like, you know what, I'll just finish it out. And
Yeah,
I was,
if I had the same gambling addiction as you guys, I would end up pulling RB, and there would be no point. There would be no point for me to do that.
Well, yeah. But no, he like. At first, I was a little sad about rolling her because I didn't actually want her that much. I'd kind of just read her kid, and I was like, "Meh, you know, I could skip this," but then I didn't skip it. But then, like, the more I was reading afterwards, the more I'm like, "No, no, actually, this hero is very good. I don't think she's bait. I don't think she's a first turn unit like people are trying to build her either. I think she's going to be much more valuable as like an RTA high effective bruiser type deal.
Yep.
But she's going to be real good, and especially too, like." I was thinking about it, and I've been running a team in Arena that I have a lot of fun with, sometimes in Guild Wars too, that's like Imalaramenta, Spez, Cerise, because Cerise has the, you know, stun that can't be resisted, and it helps out Spez a lot. But I'm like, you know, actually, Dizzy in my Arena comp isn't doing that much most of the time. Mui might do better.
Yeah, not only that, but she would give you the increased attack, yeah.
Exactly. So I'm like, I think that actually would complement that even better. And Mui can just strip the buffs away, Cerise can strip the buffs away, you've got 2 chances to do that. So you could set up those really well, I think.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think it's kind of the same like mindset that people had with Elfelt, right? She had to be a first turn, and she couldn't kill you know, a Rowana right out the gate with her without Molagoras, so she was instantly hot doo-doo. But you know, the thing is if you think about it, like if you put her in like a 210 220 like speed, you're gonna outspeed Charles. You can have enough damage at that point to lock somebody down. You could use your S3 to just hard lock down an Alencia or a Charles and then hit somebody else. I think that the CC can really just disrupt the opponent's team and like how they're set up, because a lot of teams are very balanced around this person goes, then this person goes, and then this person goes, and then this person finishes everything off. If you get even like one stun in there, I mean, just think of how often a random Abyssal Crown stun just completely screws your entire team over. Like, especially if it lands on somebody who's not like super crazy fast. Like if that lands on like your, you know, a Ravi who's super slow or something along those lines, or even just anybody at like under 180 speed, like good luck ever getting a turn. It's gonna feel like an eternity because they're just gonna start lapping you, and then you're gonna get stunned, you're gonna get out of stun, and then you're gonna be blind, and you're gonna be slowed, and you're gonna have attack down and maybe silence. Who knows? And by that time, there's somebody else is probably going to be able to stun you. And some of those are the most, if you run it, it's the most satisfying thing ever. If you're against it, it is the worst feeling, because you're just like, man, sure would be cool if I could get a turn. If I could just get a turn, I could totally turn this around. But then you get a turn and you're blind, and then you miss. And then you don't do anything, and then they just slap you right back down with some CC. And that's why when Dizzy came back around, I saw a lot of people that were like, oh, don't even bother rolling Dizzy because a Momo exists. She fell off of the meta.
Who says that?
Who says that? I saw a lot of people who said that, as a matter of fact, and they were in some of them were in my comment section, and I'm just like, bro, please. I'm like, the reason my Dizzy fell off is because in defense arena, it's an AI. It's S3 into your whole debuff immune team. You're gonna bring Champ Zerato, and that AI is gonna be like, oh, I don't care, there's Champ Zerato there, boom, S3, and then your whole thing is screwed up. I'm like, you put it in the hands of a actual player, and they're gonna work around debuff immunity. They're gonna work around Amomo. They're gonna work around everything. And Dizzy's super oppressive, super cancerous up at the top. And I mean, even a Tywin, who they built to counter the CC meta, became that which he was built to destroy, because holy crap, is that stun absolutely cancerous.
It's only 80% also, right?
It feels like 180%.
It really does.
I mean, not only that, but like, man, his modifiers are crazy.
Wait, yeah, I think he's also inflicts speed down, right?
Yes.
So that's also very bad. He's going to be inflicting those debuffs and then healing his team from debuffs.
Yes. No, his changes.
He's stealing souls
good.
Also. He's stealing souls. He's probably lapping if he's built the fast way. I like the counter Iwin more though.
See, I don't know. It requires counter slow Tywin requires them to hit you, whereas fast tanky Tywin is going to be doing a lot of damage. I still have mine on Elbrus just for the random Elbrus procs.
He's not like a huge priority for the opponent. That's why I kind of like the counter Elbrus.
Well, that's
like
the thing,
lot
is
of damage
if he's not getting hit, he's not going to be countering. So that's the the
counter Elbrus, right?
Yeah.
I think Elbrus is better because you still get the Elbrus procs from hitting other units, but
right.
But we all know it doesn't. It never procs for us anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, it procs for everybody else, but yeah, not us. But so that's the thing, is like, you could pair a Mui up with a Tywin, and it's like you just rotate stuns. Like, you rotate AoE 80% stuns. If somehow they get some debuff immunity up, you just strip it off of there, and they just don't get a turn. And I think that a lot of people, especially like lower rank people who are just used to like cleave and leave, don't really understand like the 2-turn or the drawn out tank stall teams, where it's like, this is going to take a hot minute because of all of this CC, but I'm going to kill you eventually. And
I heard this too, that like, in RTA, if you choose Deanne and Valencia on your side, it's pretty hard for them to kind of answer that, because they then pretty much have to deal with your Deanne.
Yeah.
But another potential.
The moment they strip those, like the Valencia defense buff is gonna come. There's so much damage mitigation.
But usually Valencia goes against Deanne to AoE strip Deanne's buffs. And if you have them both, that's hard to do, but Mui can kind of help that a little bit, because she can also strip 2 buffs.
Yeah, absolutely. She can strip 2 buffs, and she also is grass, just like Valencia. And the other thing, too, is she's more of an offensive stripper, so it's like you can pair her with other defensive units as well, in order to make up for the lack of defense buff, things along those lines. Yeah. So it's like you're going to be stripping, and the rest of your team is going to be doing more damage, because attack up is a huge boon to most teams. And so I think too many people though just go, well, this other unit does this thing. Not only that, but a lot of people were just had the blinders on for Arbiter Vildred. They could have released almost anything this week alongside of Arbiter Vildred in Mystics, and it wouldn't have mattered. Everybody would have just been like, oh yeah, that other unit, who cares? Arbiter Vildred, just so much Arbiter Vildred.
I think they've also got the blinders on for a potential limited summer unit that might not actually be a limited summer unit.
Yeah,
that's like that, like that Patrick meme in the subreddit, where they're like, Arbiter Village is the best unit, right? And they're like, yeah, and then so that means you're gonna pull for it. Might be bait. It might be
Might be
bait.
bait. Yeah.
Everything is bait.
Everything, you know, and it doesn't matter how good the kit is. They'll be like, oh, well, yeah, but the modifiers are poop. It's like, okay, dude, you know.
Could you
Yeah.
think that if the modifiers weren't poop, she'd be the brokenest character there ever was?
Well, yeah, you know, but that's what everybody wants, right? And that's actually something that's kind of interesting, and something I've talked about before in the past is like the fact that new characters just seem to add more robust kits so that you can fit what you need into a team, instead of just hard instantly power creeping. And I actually really like that. I just wish they would slow down with new characters.
Well, mind the pace of the new characters if Molagoras were not an issue.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say I wouldn't mind the constant influx of new characters if we had more than 3 Molagora a week. But hey,
yeah,
can't win them all, right?
Yeah. Expedition would be a lot better if the last one was not a gold transmit stone, but a Molagora. I would already have them done. I'd already be completely done with them.
Dude, everyone would be like, just spamming expeditions. Like, we must get the Molagora.
Right.
You know, like, if they had a Molagora into the expedition, like, every now and then, instead, if it's one, you know, I don't mind because we'll have 3 by the end. But, you know, having, like, maybe at max, like, 3 in that one line wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Like, it still wouldn't be enough to overcome the disparity, so.
Right. But I do like so one of the things about Mui that is actually very enticing is the fact that in order to do what she needs to do, she only needs 9 Molagoras. That's to get all of your cooldowns and all of your effect chance on everything is like 9. Just sounds so good.
And the fact that she's in that CC role, you don't really need the extra damage. You only need
it's all about proc
speed and effectiveness, and maybe some tankiness to her.
Yeah, because with her attack buff, you're going to have your other people, your other bruisers coming through and doing the damage. It's kind of like, you know, you don't really need any of that stuff on a DJ Bazaar or, you know, somebody along those lines that's just providing a buff like a C Armin or something. They're just there to do the job that they're there to do, not add DPS. Although it would be nice to have that, you know, if you had that luxury to have that extra poke damage. Because man, the amount of times that I've had a unit live with like 30 hit points, and I'm just like, if I just had one more point in my DN's S1, I would have killed that, but I don't.
Been there.
Yes.
Sure wish we had that extra Molagora to provide that 10%.
Yes.
I would very much finish off, you know, units like DN and Ruel and stuff like that. If I could, I would
plus 15 everything if I could. I would just farm Catalyst 100 nonstop. If I didn't have to worry too much about Molagoras, all day long I would just farm nonstop Catalysts in order to skill everybody up, just because I feel like I want to, right? You know, but we're gonna do a whole Molagora conversation. But long story short,
imagine if we had like a lottery kind of deal, like FGO in E7.
Dude, the first DN event was actually like that. I mean, it was absolutely brutal to farm, and you had like a less than 1% chance to get a Molagora seed, but like you actually legitimately had that opportunity in the first DN side, the first Christmas
one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the first Christmas one, and I was actually super hyped for the last Christmas because I thought it was going to be a direct rerun, and I'm like, oh boys, I'm like, is it FGO lottery box time? I'm going to show these people how we did it, you know, during Nero Fest. You know, I'm going to be just sitting there.
My God, dude.
I will not sleep for grinding, 2 weeks. Yeah,
that Nero Fest grinding was brutal. It took like so long to get like 100,000 flower petals.
Yeah, but I mean, could you imagine though if they did have that? I mean, I just literally wouldn't sleep. I wouldn't just.
Dude, our stamina problem would be even more exacerbated than it already is.
Hey, you know what? I I will just feed money into my refresh for Molagoras. I would pay people to come to my house and just watch my bot or my not my auto 2020 rerun thing, and then just empty my inventory every so often and be like, hey, come over here and just watch this thing while I go take a nap.
Dude, that's free money. I'd totally do that.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the completely wrong coast.
I would be a little nervous about the bears nearby, but hey,
that's
money's
true.
Money.
That's true. That is true.
But me hunting the bears outside your house will cost a little extra, though. I'm sorry, Shogun.
I mean, I haven't had any of them come in the house, so you're safe. You're safe if you just stay in the house. All 100% of bears that exist in the world exist somewhere outside of my house, but inside 0%. But speaking of movies, speaking of summer units, now I made a video going over how Acades is going to be the limited ice ranger, because the only thing that we get is limited ice units and limited ice rangers.
You can't argue with the history.
You can't. I mean, it's just how the game works. But one of the things that I was kind of looking at and was pointed out to me today is that if you go into the events and you look at the upcoming event, it actually just has Mui on it. So it's possible that Yuffie's just going to be a skin epic pass, and it's going to be all about Mui. It's going to be her side story and how she comes into the whole everything. Or they do a longer event, like a gold transmit stone length event, and like the first week is like Mui, and then they do like they'll be like Guilty Gear, right, where every week was like a different side story opening. So it's like you'd have Mui the first week, then you would have whatever limited unit that would come like the second half of it. Both are a possibility, but we just had the summer rerun not too long ago, and I don't know if they're going to put out a 3-week plus side story this soon afterwards.
Sure. I will say I'm personally of the opinion that summer Euphine is not a limited, and I say that because look at SSB. And look at the design of SSB and how much effort went into that costume, like into her outfit. Like it's a swimsuit, but it's like extremely fancy, and she's got a rock that she leans up on, and etc. The Euphine one doesn't look that complex. Like, it looks good, but it doesn't look that complex. So,
I mean, we've only seen literally just a splash screen of it, so I mean, you know, we don't know just the overall like aesthetics if it does come to the game, right? I mean, maybe her S3 is just like ridiculously complex, and that's where all of their budget went to. You know, not only that, who cares? She's super fucking cute.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, that's
like, Yuphine's always so cute no matter where.
Yeah.
Like, remember the Dragon Nuggie event?
Dragon Nuggies, so good.
Best item.
Best item ever. Yeah. No, I definitely super cute. I mean, if it's a skin, I'm happy. If it's a unit, I'm interested to see what it does. If she's, you know, a fire mage or something along those lines, because she's got a red outfit. That's how
it has to be a ranger, dude. No matter what, it has to be a ranger.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my units right now on my screen, and 3 of them are grass, and they're all green. And then there's 1 fire that's red. It's just how it works. If they're red, they are a ranger, or they're a fire unit.
It's easy. She's just gonna be an FGO ranger. She's just gonna throw her sword at things. And
that's
you know.
Probably true, actually.
I actually want her to always shout.
Just yell at things, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see. We're gonna find out Wednesday. I mean, I kind of hope that it is not a limited, just for my bookmark's sake, and because it just need to chill. But at the same time, I'm also hype about a limited. I'm in such a conundrum nonstop in this game, because I'm like, man, I don't have the resources to level this character up and use them, but I also want them no matter what they do.
pulled Arbiter Vildred and I'm at -8 mullahs for Kayron still. So
Yeah. Yeah, my Arbiter Vildred is going to be a dog walker for a long time.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a limited come up again soon because SSB was a rerun technically.
Yeah.
They've really been ruthless with the banners as of late.
Yeah, and I feel like though the downside is if they keep being like super aggressive, super ruthless, people are gonna start getting fatigued on that, and it's just gonna be like, you know, good unit, new unit, one after another, and people are just gonna be like, I'm just done rolling, man. I just don't have the resources for this.
Yeah, the other thing is, since it was sort of like RV to RB, like RV already needs a lot of Mola to make work, and now you're gonna throw in like Arbiter Vildred,
Yeah,
who needs a lot of Molagor to work also.
Well, I mean,
and then they're gonna release like a limited summer unit who is likely gonna need all the Molagor also.
oh yeah,
Dude, it's gonna just the
Yeah, I
Molagor
mean,
problem is
you
gonna
had
keep
like
getting worse and worse.
Ruel, R Violet, Seaside Belle, RB, like just so much stuff, and that was all right after like a Guilty Gear collab that everybody had to roll on, and then you had, you know, a bunch of other things that came out, and it's just like, bruh, like
People do like the Guilty Gear
chill.
collab the units, and those units are never coming back potentially. You know, we don't know if a collab's gonna rerun again.
Right.
Like people are saying it happens once a year, but most games I know of, they run a collab one time rerun and then it's done. It doesn't come back.
Yep. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now it'll be interesting to see how they do limited units like in the future, right? Because if we coming up in Halloween, you know, we would have had Luna, right? This would be, if they did it again, this would be the third time that we had Luna, and I could see people being very, you know, upset about just another rerun of the same event.
I don't think we ever got the Luna side story.
So yeah, we didn't. KR got it, so it was new for us. It was a rerun for KR, but I feel like if they did it again this year, people would be like, "Bro, come on," you know.
But
the Luna side story
this
is very
year,
good
right?
though. I read the script for it, and I really liked it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the DN side story was really good as well, but you know, after a certain amount of times, you know, you just kind of want something new, and then you put that into the whole side story thing that they have, where it's like, oh, hey, you can read this character's story when you get said characters. But I think that what they might do moving forward, and what would be a good idea, is to just have the previous limited unit banner, but alongside whatever the new thing is. So it's like, you know, hey, there's a Luna banner here, but here's also the new thing. So it's like, if you're a new player and you really, really, really wanted Luna for some reason, even though she's fallen off and nobody uses her anymore, but she does have, you know, very big assets that can come to your team, you can roll for her. Or if you want to just roll for 5-star dogs and some Draco plates, then you can, but you can also roll for the new character if you want. Now, that's going to be detrimental to a new person because they'll have 2 limiteds, but at the same time, you know, it's like, well, I mean, you also started 2 years after everybody else, so catch up, I guess.
I mean, it's a gotcha game in the end, right? Like,
Right.
you start later, you have less units. That's the way they all work.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, at least if they allow you, like, do reruns like that and the banners are up during those times, you know, you can still spend to get caught up, right? You know, some games, it's like they put out a limited unit and you just never get it again. It's like, oh, hey, we put this in here, here's one rerun, never going to be here again. And like for me, because I'm a big collector in games, I feel like if I hit that point, like if I try to get into a game that's like 2-3 years old and I know that a unit's never going to be back, I'm kind of like, how much am I going to actually play this, like, you know, invest in this if I can't have all of the units, right? Kind of just a thing for me that's a little off-putting, but I do think that it'll be interesting to see what we get on Wednesday. I like too that they kind of they've been teasing things, but not like holding everything until the last possible second, except for Seaside Bell. That caught me.
I think it's pretty good. I've been previewing, like, I guess the new units that are coming out until pretty close to when they do, because we've had a lot of issues with the past when, like, they'll put out a unit, like Alencia was one of these. Like, they put out the unit, and, like, I guess when they go to actually put her out, they realize she's a little too strong, so they adjust her right before she comes out, and everybody freaks out. So they refund people for purchasing Alencia, who is now actually one of the strongest characters in the game. So they got Alencia for free, and they got all their bookmarks back for rolling her.
Yeah, well, I think that, like, one of the things with putting things out early like that is that they then go through and they look at all the people who have been, like, who spent the entire week theory crafting how the unit's going to work and, like, everything like that, and then they can go back through and they can adjust things, right? Because, like, you know, when Alencia came out or when Cerise came, like, information came out, you know, immediately you're just like, oh, hold on, wait, Cerise does what? Like, this is going to be the most disgusting, overpowered, broken unit in the entire game. And then they probably see those videos and the discussions, and they're like, oh, yeah, we didn't think about that. Let's go adjust that. Now, does it, you know, does it kind of look like crappy on them for going back through and adjusting those things after the fact? You know, and then everybody saying that Cerise went from, like, OP to never going to be used ever again. Why even roll for her? Yeah, a little bit. But, I mean, I would actually rather them field test it, like, in theory crafting than to just put out a, you know, an overpowered busted unit or an underpowered unit. Like, I almost feel like they'll put units out now that are kind of undertuned and then bring them back up to, you know, a OP level later on. Whereas they should just have, like, a focus group of, like, high level players and theory crafters that just go, oh, hey, this is what I would do with this thing. You know,
it needs to be those. Yeah. Not just for everyone, because, like, most of the stuff you read on Reddit about how a unit's going to work, that's not ever how the unit works. Every unit they call trash is generally not trash.
Well, yeah, that goes back to the whole thing earlier with RTA and taking the opinions of bronze players seriously, who don't actually, you know, really play the game at a super high level.
I mean, they clearly know more than you, who is in Legend, right?
That's true. I get schooled. I get schooled on the high tier RTA meta all the time.
Only did 1,600 matches. That's like
only 1,600 matches. I definitely don't know what's drafted on a regular basis. But our last topic. Let's go into talking about the live streams and the podcasts that the Epic 7 team has been doing, and I actually really like the fact that the community managers started doing the Wednesday morning live streams, like, in tandem with KR. The problem is that I feel like they don't get the notes that the KR team really has, because the KR stream is, like, really more in depth, whereas, like, the NA, the global live stream, is New just talking crap about people in chat, which, I mean, he's not always wrong, because, you know, some people in the Twitch chat are very not good at the game, but which actually kind of always makes me laugh, because I'm just like, yeah, I mean, New's not really wrong, but it feels like they're kind of at a very big disadvantage and they have to fill for time. And you'll have the KR team on the KR stream come up with, like, like, they'll answer questions that the global team, like, didn't even know was a thing. Like, I'll go through on Reddit and I'll see, like, the write-up of the KR stream, and I'm like, yo, they didn't talk about, like, any of this stuff. I feel like the last one was a little bit better, and I'm sure that they'll get better as they go. It just feels like they are always, like, behind the other team, and they just don't have the cliff notes of, like, what is going to be discussed. It would be nice if they had, like, a structure, kind of, like, and the KR team didn't, like, go off topic and, like, answer chat questions or anything like that, so they could just be like, this is what we're talking about, these are the things that we're going to address, and then both teams could literally go word for word basically on what it is that they're trying to put out, so I don't have to go back through and read up on what was on another stream to get all of the information.
Like, both of those streams are at what, like 3 a.m. anyway for me, so I pretty much can never hit them because I work. But
yeah, they're 6 a.m. for me, yeah, so I get up and watch those, yeah.
But the thing is, since they're the same time anyway, like they're having to do them at the same time, I really think they should potentially think about doing something more like Square Enix does for Final Fantasy XIV. Like, I get that it's, you know, a big, expensive MMO, but they have this thing on FF14 called Letter to the Producer Live, and basically the Japan team that's basically putting together all of Final Fantasy XIV, they explain what's upcoming, you know, give you all the news and things like that, but they have a translator too, so you get it in the Japanese and you get it in the English. And I really think that they should probably do something like that. Since it's the same stream anyway, it's the same information. Like, combine your communities.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I feel like that was kind of what they were trying to do with the two streams. But, you know, like I said, I feel like, you know, without them being there, without somebody, like, you know, translating directly, or at least having, like, the full-on, hey, this is everything to talk about, this structure, we're not deviating from this. We're not answering chat questions. This is it. I think that is, you know, without that, they kind of feel like they're just, you know, taking things like they're flying by the seat of their pants, right? You know, they'll be in the middle of like banter with chat, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, here's this thing that we have to show you now. So it's like, I feel like if they just had that that structure, I think it would go a lot smoother.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, this is something that's kind of personal to me because I'm a professional interpreter in real life too. Is that, like, you want to try to reduce the number of walls between you and the audience as much as you can.
Yeah.
So I really think they have the money, clearly, that they could hire a professional.
I mean, the amount of money I spend on the game alone probably could hire an interpreter.
Yeah. I really feel like, since it's the same time anyway, like, why do you have two streams? Why not just make it the one stream? You know, let us hear directly from the devs, and then the community managers can do their fun streams. Like, some of their streams are quite fun that they do otherwise, you know? That's fine. Like, RTA new, whatever.
Yeah, no, those are pretty good. I actually liked not this last one, but the one before it, where they went over the, like, RTA tier list with code. Now I do think that it would have been better to maybe take, like, one of the people who finished in the top, because code kind of burnt himself out and, like, bailed about, I don't know, like 3 weeks before the end of the season, which, I mean, a lot of things can change in the meta, especially at the top, like in the last 3 weeks, and even like the last week of RTA, like a lot of things changed. But I do like seeing stuff like that and bringing on, you know, top players to kind of talk about where things are in the meta. They also had, the last one was kind of interesting, where Mashu and Nu had to, like, pitch a unit to chat on which one is better. I mean, Falconeer Quarry would have beat all of the rest of them, both 4 and 5 star, because Falconeer Quarry is disgustingly overpowered, even after her nerf.
No argument here at all.
What's that?
No argument here at all.
Yeah.
Imagine if she was, like, in her prime during this time.
Dude, yeah. Well, I mean, they nerfed her for a reason, because she was just a really, really dumb, overpowered unit. Like, and she still, there's times where I'll just take 3 or 4 turns before, like, the other person even gets one, and it's yeah. But I do like that they're kind of switching things up. I feel like if they did just every week, it was just hey, come chat, it would get kind of boring kind of quick. So they do seem to be shaking things up. Now, I would like it if they found a couple that worked for them and were really good, and then they just rotated those, so you kind of knew what was coming, right? So, like, let's say the second week of every month, it was like, hey, this is going to be RTA talk with this person who is, you know, at the top of the ladder, or, you know, is a known, you know, legend player or something like that, that's going to come in and talk about how they view the meta at the top, and, you know, units that you should be looking at, things like that. And then they had like the podcast live stream roundtable with other content creators, which I think that they brought on too many people. Going over that one, they had, you know, Desperado and New, and then 5 other people. And I mean, even with just the 3 of us, like, I don't let you guys have a word in edgewise. Could you imagine the other 4 people sitting on that podcast with me and just sitting there on stream looking visibly frustrated because they can't get a word in edgewise, as I just talk about Molagoras for an entire hour? It would just be it would just be a pain. You know, YD would get up and walk away, go, you know, to the bathroom, get something to drink, come back, I'd still be talking. But I think that, you know, if they kept it to like maybe New and Desperado and maybe like 3 people, it would be better. And then they could just rotate that, maybe do that like every 2 weeks, you know, and then have the other fillers in between. But I think if they found what worked well that people liked, and then just slot those in, so you have like a regular schedule, so you know what's coming.
They should definitely like invite you into one of those, like, all the time.
Sure.
They need you there.
But no, I think something I did like about it is I agree with you. I think they had too many people, but I do think they need more than one as well, because, like, I don't know, personally I was super glad YD was at that stream, because some of the others, like the ideas that came out, they said, oh, I think this and this, and I'm like, that is horrible. Isn't somebody going to say that that's horrible? And then Whitey's like, hold up, that's horrible.
Yeah.
So it's good to have multiple perspectives from different levels of play, but I do think that was probably too many people.
I think, actually, you know, you touch on a good point there. I think it would be good if they brought 3 people on. You have an end game, a mid game, and then like a casual. So that way you get the 3 perspectives of people from different levels, because I mean, obviously, you know, I'm fairly mid game myself, so my perspective is going to be completely different than, you know, a filthy casual who you know, like Snow, who has all the ML5s.
Filthy casual. I feel the love, Shogun.
Yeah.
ASG, so.
But I mean, you're right. I mean, it definitely does benefit to have different perspectives from different levels of players. Now, I do think, though, that, you know, as a content creator, you should have like a fairly decent understanding of the mechanics of the game, even if you are semi-casual. Just because I feel like as a content creator, you should know about the content that you're making. But that aside, you know, you can know enough about the game and also be a mid-range player or free-to-play or casual, and they're going to have a different opinion on things that, you know, that I might not, because I mean, you know, I'm a little bit of a dolphin myself. I do purchase a few packs a month, so my problems with stamina aren't going to be the same as somebody who doesn't, you know, fork over too much money to play Wyvern Farming Simulator every month. But you do need to see the perspective of all sides on that, and I do honestly think that Mog-chan, who also makes me want to now get a live 2D anime girl avatar.
That's what the moment he started talking, like, everyone was just like, Magu-chan, Magu-chan, Magu-chan.
Yeah. But his idea with the leaf problem was actually very very solid, because, you know, New brought up the whole, well, if we change the way leafs work, then the people who spent all their leaves would be mad because the people who hoarded all their leaves are getting the benefits now. And, you know, personally, I'd be like, okay, well, you also spent all your leaves, so you got the benefit previously. That would be like me getting mad at like a stock investor because I blew all of my money on gacha and then they didn't, and then all of a sudden the dollar skyrocketed. Now it's like worth way more money. You know, I got the benefit at the time when I wanted to use it, and you got a greater benefit because you hoarded your stuff and now it's worth more. But his idea of just introducing a new leaf, and then the new leaves would full refill, but the green leaves would still be there. So if you were a hoarder, you still don't get full refills on that, and eventually they would work themselves out of the system as they are replaced by the new leaves.
That was brilliant, and frankly, I didn't expect him to come up with that idea. Like, not to kind of diss him or anything, but he's not one of the first content creators I think of when I think this guy is super in-game, man, he knows this game inside out.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing too, though, is having different perspectives like that are pretty good, because sometimes you just need another set of eyes to look at a problem to have a different perspective, right? And I think that even though he's not like legendary RTA or anything like that, he can bring real world experience into it, and I mean, it was a good overall solution, and I think that was very, very solid, because my response would have just been like, yeah, fuck them, if they want to complain, that sucks, you used all your leaves. I used all my leaves like in the first 3 days. I'm not going to be mad at because everybody else gets more all of a sudden. That would be like me getting really upset that I spent 100 million gold crafting literally the day before a patch where they reduced all of the costs of crafting.
Remember that?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And that's my fault for using all that. Everything is bait. Every banner is bait. Just never.
Like every Wednesday, it might just be the solution to crafting.
Yeah, that's why I just don't want to do anything until Thursday, until like Wednesday afternoon. I'm just like, man, I should craft. I'm just gonna wait until Wednesday afternoon after I see patches to make sure that they don't screw me over. Personally, because they were like, man, he wasted 100 million gold last night. Just fix it.
Time to invoke some salt into
That's
them.
right, salty Shogun. But no, I do think that
I just remember, like, if they do decide to bring out the new leaves, that would also be an incentive for them to come out with like a fixed or even new leaf pack.
Yes, more leaf packs. I need more leaf packs, just like I need more Molagora packs. That solves world hunger if they would release a third leaf pack, or Molagora pack. Yeah.
I think there's skilled players at every level of, whale or no whale. Like, look at Snow. Like, Snow doesn't like RTA. He ended in Masters, but that's because he doesn't like RTA. He's got units that are better than mine. He's probably a better player than I am. One of those things that, like...
Oh, that's without a question, man. I'm just joking.
Your ML Ken doesn't have, like, the extra, 5 speed or so that mine does, so there's that.
That 5 speed is going to be the reason why you get defense broken by that ML Ken.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, I do think that it would be good to, bring on... I mean, the flip side, too, is that also helps... content creators get known to the community, which then builds more community in everything like that, and then just kind of goes back and forth, because it's like, obviously if they brought me on, I would be like, yo, everybody, I'm gonna be on this live stream, come check out this live stream, and then nobody would come because everybody has my announcements channel muted, so people would be like, wait, hold on, you were on that live stream? I'd be like, yeah, I put out a couple announcements about it, guys. Feels bad, man, but
feels good to be recognized, right?
Yeah. But I think that would be pretty good for that, and you would get the additional personalities, things like that. I would like to see them do just more things, and then, like I said earlier, just kind of settle into some things that a lot of the community tends to like.
Like to see some people, like, if obviously they have to want to be on it, but some of the people that ended up really, really high RTA that like weren't there for most of the season. Like, I forget, wasn't he like this KR guy that ended up #1 or an Asia server?
The one with the best profile, right?
Yeah, he came out of nowhere. Like, nobody knew who he was, and then he just was like unbeatable.
Well, that's because, and so I was actually talking to some people about this, right? That is their plan because, like, okay, everybody who went up against me, right? They knew that I had a ridiculously fast Falconeer quarry. They knew that I played Alencia. They knew that, I probably would draft Lilius there for a little while. So you would have people that would just target ban me. If a person comes out of nowhere, like Careless, he didn't play until like the very end of the season. You don't know what he runs. If you've only ever ran into him a couple times, you have no idea what to ban, what he has geared, how fast insert whatever unit is. So it's actually more beneficial to just wait. Not only that, but you're going to climb really fast because if you're just trouncing on all the people that just kind of settled into like, bronze, silver, gold masters, you're going to shoot right to the top and nobody's going to know what you have, what you run, how you play, things like that. And you're going to be at a very, very big advantage. I mean, okay, take Shuffles, for example, right? People started learning if you ban Shuffle's Oxlots, that really cripples him very hard. So you have those targeted bans, especially against like, streamers and content creators, because, we literally have our units out there nonstop. So it's like, oh, Shogun's Alencia is going to one-shot my team if I let him have it, so I'm going to either ban it or pick it. So you have, the people who nobody knows what they have. Well, maybe you might get one shot by their Alencia. Maybe they're running a Cleave Fallen Cecilia. You just don't know. So I think that actually puts them at a huge advantage.
That's what happened to Code. Is Code got burned out, took a few-week break, and then came back, and basically everybody knows his tricks at this point.
Right.
So he had a hard time coming back up because like we're all building his units now, including like myself. I base a lot of my units off of Code's units.
Well, and something too that I did like mid-season, right? So I started getting targeted banned for Alencia. So, and like all of my best bruiser gear was on Alencia. So what did I do? I shifted all of my Alencia gear over to like my A Ravi for a while. And I just started wrecking people with my A Ravi because I would go in and they would just ban my Alencia right out the gate or picker. So I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I'm not going to just let all of my gear just sit on this unit. I spent so much gold across like the RTA season, just like mid-season, like in the middle of a week, I would find that everybody was banning my LQC. So I'm like, okay, cool, LQC gear is going to go on to this other unit, and then I was always like just shifting things around. The problem with that was it kind of broke my I have a very certain play style, and when I try to like go outside of my safety bubble, I just don't have a really good time. So I usually just kind of go back to hey, I need my LQC, I need to protect my land, I mean my throne. And so you kind of fall into that trap. But yeah, especially if you take some break time and then you come back and you don't know what people are running, you don't know what the new meta is, because especially at the top, the meta shifts so fast. Like one day it's like this, like a Charles is picked every single game, and then the next time it's everybody's running Fire Charlotte. Not everybody, but Kia Soul is, and he is just gonna destroy your whole beehole.
I don't know
so crazy.
Kia Soul's Charlotte because he whenever he makes a video on the unit, he never shows the gear at all.
He actually did. He had a video with all of his Fire Charlotte stats and like everything, and I tried to take my gear and emulate his Fire Charlotte, and I was close, but I would have to have cannibalized like 5 or 6 whole units to get close to what he had. And the first time I saw it was when he used it in a tournament, and it wasn't even level 60. It was like 56 or something like that, and he just laid waste to that team. And I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, those buffs are actually pretty significant. Like, you just got beat by a 56 Fire Charlotte. So yeah, no, I think that, you know, that's like a big thing. Like you never would expect a Fire Ravi to come in, but I've actually had people pre-ban my Fire Ravi just because
That's my favorite
sometimes
thing about
I will solo their team. Like if I get to a
favorite
point,
thing
yeah,
about RTA is like people like you with your Fire Ravi, or people like Kia Soul with his Fire Charlotte. Like a lot of the units in this game are really, really good if people will actually commit to them.
like
And
Fire Dingo.
people, yeah, like, well, I don't know, maybe we'll see. Much about Fire Dingo, but it seems to be working well enough for you.
I
Right?
prefer the more Thanos snapping dingo.
I mean, that one can't creation and destruction meme 3 turns in a row on people.
Also not
20% chance, man. Not 20% chance. That's
Hey.
that's R&L right there.
That's perfectly fine for me because when it happens, it's like the Baiken RNL where you just get 700 turns and the opponent's just like, man, is this guy gonna ever stop cooking and giving everybody cooldowns? No, he's not.
I didn't, like, you've had a lot of success with units like Fire Ravi, like Captain Rickerus. Like, I've
Yep.
seen about use Captain Rickerus. Now a bunch of people are.
Yeah.
Like,
Just gotta go around
people are
rickrolling
actually
people.
willing to commit.
I mean, the thing too was like I was using a Tywin before his buffs and having a ton of success, and that was something that was actually brought up on that podcast live stream. Was if you didn't have Molagora problems, would there be a much more robust meta? And it kind of surprised me because like almost everybody except for YD was like, no, meta would just stay meta because it's meta units. And YD's like, no, dude. He's like, I would use like all kinds of shit. He's like, I would use all kinds of units because, I mean, you would use Broman. I would love to use Broman. I would use Ice Dom more. You know, there's a lot of units that I just don't have the ability to skill up and use. Like Broman actually kind of low key OP.
Dude,
So
yeah,
many
someone actually made a post about how a Broman was being ignored because like I can't remember the exact reason, but every time he uses S1 and then it procced the additional skill, he just kept Abyssal Crowning people, people.
And the thing is you can't push him back. So it's like if you draft a Broman against a Basar, like that sucks. I'm not getting pushed back, and I'm going to silence your whole team.
I think you can push him back. It's just reduced by like 95% or something, right?
If you skill up his S2, he can't be pushed back. I'm pretty
sure.
Okay.
So the one I ran into just didn't have any Mola.
Yeah, that's the thing is like you have to have Molagoras into him in order to use him to his full potential. But you know, yeah, man, it's like it's crazy how much some of these units are. It's his base is 80%. 2, 2, 3, 3, 10. Yeah, so he'll get another 20% on that if you max out his S2. But like his S3 is gonna dispel a buff and then silence everybody. 75% chance on that. So it's like, okay, that's cool. And then yeah, his S1 into the AoE knockback is really good. But it takes time for people to realize that, and then they're gonna be like, I don't have any Molagoras for it. Like, sure wish I could use him. But I think that if Molas weren't a problem, you would have such a more robust team, like fielding. Yeah, sure, you'd have your meta units, but you would have a lot of people that would run things like Elfelt. You would have like Cirillas popping up here and there because they're both real strong. You would have a lot of just different units. I would run a Yuna, but I mean, I'm not gonna Molgora her out until I finish my second Rengar's drink, and then I'm gonna do Yuna SSB both on Rengar's drinks.
That's one thing.
I think there's still talks. I think there's still talks about 4-stars having like half or whatever, like, requiring some amount of stigma, some amount for Molagora.
I mean, that would be a good starting point. I mean, you're still gonna have like a a drought of molas if you're trying to, with the amount of stuff that they put out, right? You're never going to be able to catch up or even like stay, up on things when it comes to skills, no matter how hard you try. But I think that would be a good start to it. I still think that they should just be a farmable, even if it's just a super low drop.
You should be able to unit their potential.
Yeah, I mean, my idea has always been a separate hunt that has like catalysts, a rare Molgora seed. I mean, obviously you don't want
just making it a daily dungeon would help.
See, that's the thing though, Snow, is like I feel like if it was a daily dungeon, you still would have people who started early would still have a time gated advantage over everybody else. Whereas I feel like if it's farmable, like you have the ability to grind and catch up to somebody who may have been casual, like, and just logging in and doing the bare minimum for the last like 2 years. Like you, if you are a hardcore, you put in the crazy amount of effort, you can catch up to that person. And I think that's really where it needs to go. And then people will be like, well, yeah, but the gap between whales and free to plays will get super super big. And it's like, you can only draft so many units, right? Like if everything on my account is plus 15 and you have half of your account plus 15, I mean, we can only draft so many units, so sure, I would have everything plus 15, but I can still only put 5 units on the board. So there's that.
Going back to the original topic, that is something that super disappointed me about the stream with all the content creators. You had so many people there with a chance to really say something about that, and then he asked you, if we did unlock Molagoras, do you think the meta would change? And everybody's like, no. Like, come on, guys. Yes, it would.
Yeah.
But I'm glad YD spoke up about that, because that was disappointing.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, YD does have a pretty good idea about like the game and how it is.
Well, yeah, and like one of the things too that I like about YD, right, is that YD also uses some weird off-meta units. Like, and YD actually does use Elfelt in Guild Wars. So like anytime I see somebody that's like, oh no, nobody uses Elfelt, I'm like, wow, that's really weird, because YD uses Elfelt, and YD is big Inter. So I mean, sure, does Elfelt get killed every so often? Absolutely, but who doesn't get killed in a YD showcase?
It wouldn't be a YT showcase without a unit dying at their debut.
That's true. It's true. But like that's the big thing, is like that's another thing I think that sets like different levels of players apart as well, is that that understanding of different units, of different parts of the meta with things shift. There's a big difference between the meta slaves and the people who set the meta. And I think that if the Molagora restriction were eased a little bit, you would have a lot more people shifting the meta. And sure, would the meta change? No, you would still have the people further down the chain that just want somebody to tell them what's good, building what people tell them is good. But you would have people like up in Legend at the bleeding edge that would level up Adlai over the course of like the last 2 days in order to use in a Guild War video that he's going to record in like 15 minutes, because we've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes.
Imagine who that would be. But, that's the thing, is I think the strong units are still going to be the strong units, but at the same time, I think the pocket picks would vastly increase, and the pocket picks are some of the most fun about RTA. Like, somebody pulls out this unit and you're like, what are they going to do with this? You know
how many people have actually asked me like what Captain Ricorous even does? It's quite a few people actually. And then you tell them their kit and they're like, oh wow, that's actually kind of really good. And I'm like, yeah.
I saw a guy in your channel, Shogun, that was actually RTAing Hacks, and Hacks picked Adlai. And like he typed in the chat, he was like, what does Adlai even do? And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, he is about to die.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, I'll bring up like, oh hey, this 3-star unit, like Muchacha, the wolf dude. Not only does he have a 100% defense break on his S3, but he has a built-in Ranon's Memorandum on his S2. His S1 gives him like 20% CR push, and he scales off of speed. Like, I want to just make this dude like 280 speed with a Ranon's Memorandum, with his passive, and just watch him just lap even the fastest units like nonstop. It's gonna be amazing.
Sounds like it.
But yeah, I mean, like take the two star Mighty Scout for example, right? You bring that in, and people will be like, "Is this guy trolling?" But his S2 penetrates 70% defense and actually does quite a bit of damage. I mean, people one-shot Banshee with him, so you know, there's that. But it's you know, it really does kind of show the difference of like knowledge in the player in like what they think that the meta actually is versus what you can actually bring and how to counter certain things. You'll see a lot of people complain about Arbiter Vildred, but I'll just, you know, tell them, hey, just bring Adamant Arius and just kind of laugh as his damage does nothing to your tanky team. Or, you know, they'll be like, oh, Moonlight Dreamblade is such a BS thing, and I'm like, just bring Oath Key. And they're like, I don't even know what Oath Key does. And it's like, man, some of the 3-star artifacts are some of the strongest artifacts in the game. Daydream Joker, you know, Oath Key, Rana's Memorandum. A lot of people don't even know what that does, but it's like on a fast unit that you know is going to get a multiple turns, makes them zoom crazy fast.
The faster they get, the more effective it is too.
Yeah, and that it's just absolute. It's really crazy. But I think a lot of people are stuck in the whole, if it's fast, I'm just gonna one turn cleave. So, but that's not what Falconeer Corey really does, or you know, Cerise to a point. But that's a whole other topic. We do gotta wrap this up because we've been talking for a while, and my dog just sneezed on my leg.
He loves you.
Man.
I appreciate it. But any closing remarks other than it's amazing that we actually put this out in the 2-week time frame that we said?
Well,
for us.
The release of Expedition is definitely one of their best PvE content to date.
Expeditions are pretty fun.
Very, very good.
We'll talk about Expeditions next time, maybe. In
Let
depth.
it settle up.
Yeah. Paychecks, anything?
No, just thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Cool. All right, well, I'm going to head out of here and go record Guild Wars. Hopefully I don't int too hard with this Chadley. Should be fun. But as always, guys, if you do like this content and you haven't hit the subscribe button, consider it, or don't. My dog is getting very antsy because he thinks that this is the end of a stream and they're going to go outside, but they're not. But if you yeah, I completely lost the track of my end of video. Thanks.
No,
Thanks,
he's not your real
dog.
dad.
I'm not your real dad. You don't have to hit subscribe if you don't want to, but I do appreciate it. Like, comment down below. What do you see? What do you want us to talk about on the next one? We'll probably maybe do it if Snow doesn't have board games. If he does, we'll just bring somebody else on.
Just bring YD to the screen.
We'll bring YD, and yeah. But anyways, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy, homies. Peace.